I mentioned also we need the services to be available. You can give the information about family planning and all that, but you need the services to be in place. And in the last service provision assessment in 2010, we had about 85% of our health facilities which were providing modern methods of family planning. So when you look at this slide, it shows that the methods or the services are available, but there are issues in there. For example, issues of stockout. Women go to the facility and you find that today the methods are not available. So these are the kind of issues which we need to deal with. You go to the rural areas, you find the services are not available. Most of these services are available in the urban areas. So those are issues which we need to deal with. So in terms of family planning, these are the areas that you have been working on. Increasing the proportion of facilities offering family planning, especially in the rural areas, reducing the stockouts, which I've mentioned, and also there is another key issue which you're working on, enhancing male involvement in family planning. We have just concluded a national survey on male involvement to try and find out why are men not being involved in issues to do with family planning. And we hope that this survey is going to inform our programs so that we can increase the prevalence of contraception. So in terms of child health, as was mentioned earlier, if mortality is still high, it will be difficult to reduce fertility. And the reason is that many people take this as a security measure to have more children in case some die. Now, when you look at what we have done between 2003 and 2008, you find that we have been able to reduce deaths among children under 5, among the infants, those are 1-year-olds. But when you look at the neonatal mortality, these are children dying in the first month of life. That is an area where we have had minimal impact. So because of that, some of the things we wish to do here, or which we are doing, is to increase the proportion of births attended by skilled providers, because over 50% of our births in Kenya take place outside the health facility. Also to improve newborn care practices in order to reduce the number of children who are dying the first month of life. And also to improve the effectiveness of the integrated management of childhood illnesses, which was mentioned earlier on, and also increase immunization coverage. So we hope that these strategies are going to help us to reduce child mortality and in the process enhance the uptake of contraception. In terms of education, this chart here shows the connection between education and the use of contraception. You find that among those who have no education, only 12% are using modern methods of contraception. Compared with those with secondary education and above, you have about 52% using that. So given this, we want to increase our education levels so that we are able to also enhance the uptake of contraception. So some of the things we are doing here, already in Kenya, we have the free primary education. It's available to everybody in public schools. We also have free tuition in public secondary schools. This one is also aimed at enhancing access. We are also increasing the enrollment and retention in schools, and also increasing the transition rates. And I think this is very important for us because many are dropping out after primary school. Many do not go to tertiary institutions after secondary school. So these are areas we are trying to deal with. And then in terms of women empowerment, there are quite a number of things which have been taking place there. Securing the education of the girl child. This is important as a means of empowering women. And also in the Constitution, we have a provision which provides that 1/3 of all elective and appointive positions are reserved for either gender. So which means that in any of these bodies, you will find the male and female represented. At least there's none of them who will be less than 1/3. And this is enhancing the participation of women in decision making. And also we have quite a number of credit facilities which have come up in Kenya, including the Women Enterprise Fund. And this is basically to empower women economically, because we believe when the women are empowered, they will be able to take up the reproductive health services much better. Then, just to conclude, in terms of challenges, what I wish to mention here, some of the challenges to this population program is political messages. Some political messages which we are hearing in some parts of our country encourage people to reproduce so that there are more. And this is working against the program. So this is one challenge we want to deal with. In Kenya, it is referred to as tyranny of numbers. So many communities think that if they have more people, then they will have a bigger stake in the national affairs. So that's one issue we need to deal with. The other one is that the family planning program in Kenya, again, is largely funded by donors. So this is not a situation which is desirable. If the donors withdraw, then what happens to the program? So slowly by slowly, we need to take up this particular program. And then the last challenge which I want to mention is traditional, cultural, and religious beliefs which work against the population program. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Francis Kundo from the National Council for Population Development in Kenya. And I picked a few things there. You talked about the terrain of numbers, and I thought that was an interesting comment you said. And there are quite a number of leaders who have had, even here in Uganda, who are supporting a bigger population. Next, we have Mr. Lawrence Nsereko, who is talking about investing in education to accelerate economic development. Please, sorry. Let us jump that and have Mr. Mondo Chateka, who is the Assistant Commissioner, Youth Affairs, Minister of Gender, Labor and Social Development, and who's also a global specialist on youth development, and he will be specifically telling us about Uganda's, just a moment, accelerating economic growth and job creation, the case for the youth in Uganda. And of course, you know the Minister of Gender recently has embarked on the Youth Livelihood Development Program, which is a big thing for Uganda. Mr. Mondo Chateka, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Moderator, the Chairman, National Planning Authority, honorable members of Parliament here present, fellow East Africans, the media fraternity, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if any. I've decided to abandon my PowerPoint presentation because Kamara has decided to harass me. Therefore, I'll just say a few things that have not been said. And I want to start by saying that as a person in Uganda, I have never been concerned about the numbers that people in Uganda produce. My concern has been and remains the capacity for them to look after these children, give them quality education, give them quality health, so that at the end of the day, we can have a quality population. And a quality population is shaped by two very important things. One of them being education, the other being capacity to provide health services. For East Africa, therefore, to harness and benefit from the demographic dividend, quality education and training is the most important tool in ensuring quality population and reducing dependency. Hence, the need for us as East Africans to think seriously about how much are we investing in education. And are we taking education for education's sake, or are we taking education as a means of socio-economic transformation? Meaning that the education our children get must therefore be quality education. Dr. Zuru has pointed out the figures about Africa. We are 1.2 billion now. We are projected to be 2.4 billion in 2050. The continent's greatest asset or potential risk is in the present and in the future decade, the growing reservoir of human capital. How have we prepared ourselves? How have we positioned these big numbers of people to be able to cause meaning in the socio-economic transformation of the country? Africa has the largest and is the largest and most populous continent. 15% of the world's population live in Africa. Africa is also a country endowed with a lot of natural resources, and yet Africa is the poorest continent. What a mix, what a paradox. And what is responsible for this? Part of what is responsible for this is not just the absence of human resource, it is the absence of competent human resource to manage the socio-economic transformation of the country. So for Professor Chisama Mugera, we need much more money in education. And not just education, but quality education to be able to transform this country. By 2040, Africa will have the largest workforce in the world, surpassing China and India. The question is, with what skills? With what level of skills? If we have presently in Uganda, they mentioned figures, we have reached 96% enrollment, according to the poverty status report of 2012, 96% enrollment in P1, but 54% completion in P7. And other researchers, other documents put it at lower than that. So, can we account 96 minus 54? Where have the rest gone? Can we use that labor force, unskilled, to transform the continent? Must be concerned so much about having the numbers, or should we be concerned about the quality of these numbers? A large youth bulge can be an opportunity for change, progress, and social dynamism, or a potential and real risk for the continent. For the large workforce to make meaning now and in the future, it must be purposely trained and in possession of competitive and relevant skills. A country is only as progressive as the investment in human resource development through education and training. Africa, and therefore East Africa, need to develop a human capital resource to build and sustain vibrant, competitive economies which can reduce poverty and ensure sustained levels of growth, and therefore ensure reduction in dependency levels. And reduction in dependency levels will mean that we have people who make money and can invest, other than spending all the money we make on school fees, health, and other things. According to Dr. Alfred Latigo, in his book, The Best Options for Africa, education of the 21st century Africa must prepare individuals to fully contribute to the economic, social, intellectual, and spiritual needs of its people. The education and training we need for East African community youth must be one that challenges individuals to be able to venture, create, and move from their comfort zones to the unknown and untrodden world, and contribute to discoveries through realizing the potential of our natural resource endowment. Why should Africa be the only country that does not benefit from its natural resource endowment? Why must resources in Africa benefit other people other than the people of Africa? It is because of limited human resource capital investment. We lack the people to understand and manage our natural resource base to make meaning to Africa. The education and training we need, therefore, must go beyond what we have been talking about before. We must have in East African community a formidable indigenous cadre of human resource that can fully harness and make meaning out of our diverse resources. Our education, Mr. Chair, our education system must be that can fully inform our national development plans or visions, and informed by a prudent labor market information system. The chairman, National Planning Authority, I've been asking myself, when I was going to university, we had one university. Now we have over 30 universities with different curriculums, with different courses. What is informing the courses that these different universities are initiating? Some of them is a question of a course sounding romantic and somebody starts a course. Are we looking at where do we need to position these people? Are they going to be relevant in the socio-economic transformation of the country? To me, education in Africa must be geared at ensuring that the people we are producing are contributing directly to the national development plans and the visions of the different countries. Anything short of that is just romanticizing the problem and just pretending to be useful, yet we are not being as useful as we ought to. Our education must be seen to answer the contemporary development needs of the East African community. We must train today the people we need tomorrow, and not train today the people we needed yesterday. Professor Apollos Bambi, in one of his writings, he said the problem with Africa is that we train today the people we needed yesterday, and that will not help us to benefit from the demographic dividend. It will not. It will not. Mr. Chair, as I conclude, there is need for regular interface between the training and education institutions with the employers and policymakers to ensure not only quality of education, but also relevance of the education that we are imparting into the young people. I'm therefore talking about a new education system that must prepare East African community people to feature in discoveries, find solutions to their own problems, escape the doldrums of chronic poverty, and come up with East African grown specific solutions in technology and science. We need an education system that will change our mindset and help us fight insanity by changing our attitude from that of beggars, dependents, and consumers or gatherers of wealth to that of producers of wealth. Needless to emphasize, quality education is the greatest transformation strategy for any economy, as it does produce the most important ingredient for development, the requisite for human resource placement and nurturing. It is equally a great equalizer. It can turn wild dreams into reality. It can narrow the gap between a dream and a reality. It can turn shame to fame. That's if we have relevant education. Mr. Chairman, sir, someone is about to tell me, yet I know, that we have in East Africa, especially Uganda, very good policies, strategies, and plans. Thank you for having them. What we need today are not good intentions or policies in place. We need to go beyond what the policies prescribe and do what the policies say. We must narrow the gap between knowing and doing. We must invest in employability of our people, productivity of our people. Soft skills is very necessary now. And we need to invest more in the area which we are escaping always. They talked about skilling Uganda. Very good intentions. But right now you hear we are struggling to get the money to implement this very good plan. The plan we needed yesterday that will redeem. Because it is the hands-on skills that can transform the country. But we are investing peanuts in that area, and we can not transform, and we cannot benefit from the demographic dividend. Yes, it is turning ideas into actions that will help us create the opportunity to reap from East Africa's youthful population. My president, the president of Uganda, says countries all over the world are basically developed by their own skilled citizens. Our East African community countries cannot be unexceptional. In conclusion, Mr. Chairman, let us remember what Greg Mills says in his book, Why Africa is Poor, and I quote, "The choices we make, not the chances we take, determine our destiny. The choices we make, not the chances that we take, determine our destiny." Chairman, Planning Authority, Moderator, I have one problem that I must voice out. In Uganda, that was christened the Pearl of Africa in 1908 by Winston Churchill. How can we have 33.3% of our children malnourished? How can we have enrollment at 96, but completion at P7 all at 54? Why must we continue having children producing children? Why must we have 15% of our children not going to school at all? Yet we have an elaborate local government structure. I want to propose a radical view, and I don't mind what some of you will say. Too much democracy is very expensive. Too much democracy is very expensive. I'm a student of Machiavelli, and Machiavelli believes that for people, especially people in a country like Uganda, somewhere they need some whipping. I mean, why should you, in the 21st century, not take your child to school when there's UPE? Why wouldn't you? And should I come to you and sing lullaby and say you are a very good voter, please remain there? Why shouldn't you have food to pack for children to take to school? Must I come and sing Eri Wamara's songs to you, to pamper you, to say you are a good citizen? Mr. Moderator, the local government structure has failed us. Our local government structure needs review because it is not doing what it ought to do. Good programs are in place. What is lacking is the implementation. And people are flouting implementation of programs with impunity.
Time is up, sir.
People are thinking about the voting tomorrow. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Chateka, you have heard him there, and he is talking about narrowing the gap between what we know, between knowing and doing. I can't agree with you more. But the suggestion that we could maybe do with a little bit of dictatorship, I reject, sir. That we should be whipped in some way, I think is an admission of failure on the side of leadership. Thank you very much, Commissioner Chateka. And at this juncture, may I call upon Dr. Josam Musinguzi, who will be our main discussant, and from PPD Africa Regional Office, and to come and do justice to some of these presentations and add, because he's an expert on these issues. Dr. Musinguzi, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. The chairman of the NPA, Professor Kisamba Mugerwa, the UNFPA Deputy Regional Director for Africa, and my old friend, I don't know whether they are still friends because the last time I saw you was a long time ago, but welcome to my country. I always see you in New York, so it's good to see you here. Colleagues on the high table, the Director of POPSEC and other colleagues, our presenters, members of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen. I think I should really not bother you with any more long talks about what we've had. I just have a couple of messages. The first one is today in Uganda, we are shifting the debate of the population from the traditional way of worrying just about numbers, but realizing that there is a potential for changing the debate, shifting the paradigm of the debate, and challenging the government and the civil society and every one of us to saying now Uganda's population, which is growing rapidly, can actually be turned into an opportunity. I think this is the message we have from today onwards. And I hope that our media is realizing this strategic shift into saying we want to challenge government, we want to challenge civil society organizations, we want to challenge ministries, to make sure that we are now saying we cannot continue lamenting about the rising population. There's not too much more we can do about it. You have heard that even if you use contraception, even if you go to replacement level of 2 children plus 0.1, Uganda's population is going to increase. So what are we going to do with this increasing population, which is inevitable? And I think today we have started hearing the messages. And I requested that for me, they put only this one slide, and that's what I'm going to use. I think we have had it all today. But what are we really saying? You have heard from the Kenyan representative, Francis. If you are going to look at one of the policies that you have to deal with, the question of fertility, what is it that you can do in your own country in order to make a difference? Because what we are realizing is that all these wheels must move together. You can not only deal with population structure and you forget about the economy, you forget about health, you cannot forget about education. Issues of governance and accountability matter if you are going to benefit from this demographic dividend. And I think both Elia Zuru and John Sekamate also stressed the point that actually governments are already doing this. And this is not only in Uganda, but in Kenya and other places. I think both Elia and John also stressed the fact that our own governments, both in Kenya and in Uganda, they are prioritizing infrastructure. And there is nothing wrong with this. In fact, that is the way to go. But the message here is that you must play a role that makes sure that the health sector supports those things that are key, those things that are key in education, things that are key in the economy, things that are key in governance, so that we are all moving together. And once one wheel is not moving with the others, then there's going to be disjoint. And that is, I think, what we need to avoid. And with those remarks, as far as I'm concerned, I think the guys have done a very good job. Just to remember that I think we are supposed to have had a presentation about Uganda, and especially in, I think it was supposed to be in the health sector. And I think what was supposed to come out is that in Uganda, at the level where we are now, according to the analysis, I think Uganda's Minister of Health needs to pay more attention. We need more policy, more policy makers' involvement in making sure that immunization is 100%. We want to make sure that we have integrated dealing with the childhood diseases. We want to make sure that malaria is controlled. We want to make sure that mothers know that the children are not going to die, so that they don't continue to want to have more. In that case, we are going to see fertility coming down. Of course, family planning must come into the whole picture. So there are those key things that each sector should be able to do. And for example, that is in health. In education, I think the Commissioner, Mondo Chateka, made the point on education, and I think those are the factors we are talking about. Uganda is on the right path, but what is the quality of UPE? If you have so many dropouts, and who is dropping out? The girls. And if you don't empower the girls, we have heard Kenya told you, they empowered the women, and the women then remain in the employment, they are gainfully employed, they reduce poverty, they are more productive. So these are the things that we are talking about, and they are all intertwined. And with those remarks, I think we are eager to make sure that we go into the debate, and then we will come through later on to see how we move forward. And so I don't really want to labor the point too much. I think we are all on the same front, and I just want to tell you that this is the beginning of making sure that we are tweaking, we are shifting the paradigm of the debate in Uganda on the population. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Josam Singuzi. And so this is the time when the discussion comes to you, and you have listened from the experts, and of course you also are experts on this subject of harnessing the demographic dividend. What is your say? So let me go through the rules of engagement once more, so that we have a healthy debate. We shall speak one at a time. We shall all the time respect each other's views. You will raise a hand, and then I'll point at you and introduce yourself, and just be precise and concise. And so I already have hands. All right. Who has the microphone that's going to run around? Mr.
I'm
Hunt?
here.
Where are you standing?
Here.
Okay. Could you please? You have.
Thank you very much.
Wait a minute, sir. All right. What is going to happen is that you be precise and concise. Don't take a lot of time, and don't ask more than one question, so that at least everyone can speak. But of course, you can realize that we are so many. Not everybody will speak. So please bear with me if I don't point, you don't get a chance, because it may not be possible. But I'll try as much as possible to reach you. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, the Regional Director of the UNFP, Protocol Observed, and the audience. I am Musana Jafar from Makerere University, a third-year student of Ethics and Human Rights. I I would like, first of all, to comment that Professor David Crocker said that if you want to promote development, you must involve the public, all the people to participate. And what am I trying to mean? The thing is that Africa, actually, it has gotten women who are too fertile. And as one panelist said, every other day people are not sleeping, they are producing. And so, to the extent that we youths, every other time we've become potential beggars to people who are having. And so, what have we done? What are we going to do in order to break this scenario? One, I would like to request the Population Secretariat, the United Nations Population Fund, that since it is the first time that you're trying to engage the media, the civil society organizations, I'm requesting you that you involve us such that we can send the message down to people at grassroots levels to stop and realize the importance of having family planning and do things that are going to lead to economic development.
Thank you. You've made your point,
much.
sir. Okay, thank you. You took a little bit of more time, but since you are our first contributor, I didn't want to stop you. I'm just going to be a little bit strict now. Gender balance. Give a microphone to a lady in cream, right there.
Thank you very much. Two comments. One, there is going to be an increase of exodus from rural to urban, and I don't know what you are going to do about it with the slums coming up. I'm working with Gomba women in the rural district of Gomba, and I'm wondering what you are going to do about the populations in the rural areas on family planning, on education. We are dealing with women who really do not understand these technicalities. So of all these things you have talked about, I'm not sure what our women are up to in the rural areas, what you're planning about our children, and the disease challenges that we are facing. If this can come up strongly for the grassroots organizations. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And if you have a question and you want to address it to somebody specifically, please tell us who. And don't even waste time in organizing protocol. Don't mention anybody. We'll know you have thanked us. We know you're, just stick to the point so that at least we can have more people participate. A gentleman just right there, next to you. Very precise.
I'm Mukundane Albert from District Focus. My question is about using your global perspective, that is doctor. What is your comment as regards the control of population using LGBT?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. That always comes, doesn't it? We're going to, a lady in black right here, almost to the front row.
Thank you. I'm Karungi Winfred Akiki from Toro Kingdom. Now, mine is a suggestion. I would like all the stakeholders invited here, all the ones who have been talking to us, to promote sex education. Because when you don't promote sex education, these primary school pupils and teenagers in secondary school will evolve into early sex, and thus a population boom. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So far, we only have one question, I suppose. So people are giving us solutions. We have one question to Dr. Zulu. Muhammad, yes, Ahmad.
Thank you so much, Kamara. My name is Ahmed Haji. Just one issue. I find that discourse missing because they're not addressing key issues, especially the unresolved question. If you look at our society, there are those sticking questions of fertility versus contraceptive, especially within the arena of religious and cultural settings. And also the other question is looking at the youth more of a problem than an asset. And the other last issue is the linkage of DD or demographic dividend versus governance, the will versus action. There's a lot of willingness articulated in the policies, the legislations, but when it comes to budget and actual prioritization, take for example education, they will build schools, but they won't address key issues like age-appropriate education. That is critical in helping young people make informed choices that would eventually influence their reproductive health issues. I see that as lacking, because if we don't address, more especially those unresolved questions, we still have to see a lot of population. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I think the question of contraceptives, maybe Francis will respond to that, giving the Kenyan example. Anybody who's near you now? Okay.
Thank you for giving me this chance. I'm going to go direct to the question. I'll not beat about the bush. Now, we have a problem in Africa, especially Africa south of the Sahara and north of River Limpopo. Let me first introduce myself. My names are Ambrose. My names are Ambrose Gahene. I'm a journalist with the Dynasty News. Sorry for speaking without introducing myself. I was talking of Africa, south of the Sahara and north of River Limpopo.
You're actually saying Uganda, okay.
Is facing one big disease called brain drain. Right from the 60s, many Africans have migrated to Europe to look for green pasture. That one you know. We have the best doctors in Britain. We have the best engineers in France. We have the best, philosophers in America. How are you going to address the issue of brain drain? We talk about demographic dividend, yet we are training people and they run away. How are you going to address that?
The issue of brain drain. Thank you very much. But you should also know that there are tens of thousands of Ugandans, some of them in modern day kind of slavery in the Middle East, some of them in China. You know what has happened. So not only the skilled who are going, everybody wants to get out of the country. Yes, I've given the powers of attorney that whoever is near you, you give him a microphone, because now this is, and then we shall change this site.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I am by names of Makumbe Aloysius from Central West University. My question goes to the Honorable Minister. We have been talking about employment and unemployment, but recently we hear these programs like the NADS program, where the government is turning is giving this work to the army officers. So you will find they have more than one job, yet other people, they don't have their jobs. Then also, how can we improve governance and being accountable of public resources when the government, the ministers, some of the ministers, not you, they're involved in corruption, nothing is done to them, then you go out chasing the NADS officers, replacing them by army officers.
Thank you very much. There is definitely some kind of integrity deficiency in Uganda. Some new form of aid is acquired integrity deficiency. Yes, that side.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Kamara. I want to find the default with the political leadership, especially versus the issue of family planning. Here is the president who tells people up country to produce as many children as they can, yet the technocrats are advising them to reduce on the number of children they produce. Now, one of the problems we find in the villages is they tell you, what are you going to give us, you, when the president himself has said, and is even educating our children free. Now, family planning still has a very big problem, because now it's a responsibility of women, as we talk in Uganda now. My biggest question to the women in the business of emancipation, don't you think that when we have many children at home, it is you to remain to look after the children? So what am I saying? Family planning will help women emancipation very fast. Now, the children are more than the old people in Uganda. Now, we still have a rope around our neck. The child labor. Is there any way we can reduce, we can work around the child labor law to make sure that this majority also produce. Because now, 80% of our incomes are going to this majority here. Now we the elders are suffering because somehow we have put the child law around our ropes. We must work for this many. See that? Uganda should be prepared to lose out when we integrate with East Africa, because our skills are very small, they are very few, are not almost required. I want to ask myself and the people around the question, where do people who study Uganda, Runyakitara, history, go? 80,000 people are in universities. 60,000 are studying those kind of courses. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. You've raised very important issues. I think the chairman and National Planning Authority will respond to some of those, especially the conflicting kind of messages from the president, whom you said is saying that you should produce more, and the National Planning Authority is telling us to do family planning. Mr. Dr. Samba Mogera will respond. Yes. You have a microphone, so please continue.
Excuse me, sir.
I had a lady first. A female voice.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator and the panelists. I'm called Logoso Judith. Now, the recent budget proposals have made the agricultural sector unattractive to the youth, and yet at the same time, the policies KCCA is implementing is chasing the youth away. So in the near future, and considering the income disparities, look at the salary structures at KCCA, at Parliament and other places, are going to cause grievances. You know, if you combine the two, you're making the agriculture sector where the youth would have resorted to unattractive by whatevering, putting taxes on them, and then you're chasing them from the city. There is going to be anarchy. They're going to target the few who have this big population. So you literally, we want, if it be possible, just tell the president, tell cabinet, open up to them and tell them, let them lift the taxes off agriculture, such that youth get things to engage in. They get things to engage in, and also to leave the city. And we stop this kind of, the anarchy, the crime levels.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think Francis can tell you about the terrain of numbers, which can come about, and then Dr. Samba Mogera maybe will comment again on agriculture.
You had given me, sir.
I'm going to take 3 more, then the panelists and the discussants will respond to your questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kamara. My name is Patrick.
Wait a minute.
You had given me here, Kamara.
What's your name and where are you from? Yeah, the man in blue.
My name is Atim Derek from Uganda Christian University. I pointed out one issue here, like you were talking about the UPE program that the government brought in. But again, yeah, this program has been brought in, but even as the population is growing, I believe if these people are educated, I believe that even the income will improve a bit. So I'm kind of requesting maybe the government would follow up this UPE program, supervise it and see how far it has gone, because if these people are dropping out, then it shows that there's an ineffectiveness that is happening.
Thank you.
I would maybe request that
Thank you.
Just do a follow-up of this program. So
I think your request, the chairman will take it. But
Mr. Kamara, you had given me here.
Yes, just hold there. Whoever, yes, you have the microphone. But just you, the young people of Uganda, every time you get a microphone, you are saying to Saba government, to young, appealing. You have your responsibility. You have the energy. Why don't you demand? Why?
Mine
this is not something
Mr.
to appeal
Kamara.
for. This is your right.
That's exactly what I'm going to answer. Thank you very much, Mr.
Mine
Kamara.
is a question, Mr. Kamara.
No. Yes. Your name?
My name is Patrick from the Uganda Youth and Adolescent Health Forum and a consultant in youth engagement. Now, one, addressing that demographic dividend calls for definitely investment in health, but we need to be specific in this case. And I'm not talking about sex reproductive health for young people, but how do we make this a reality? I would personally request that
we have a specific allocation in the health sector budget that is set upon for establishing youth corners in health facilities, and if possible, Ministry of Health take up an issue of like having adolescent health clinic days, like at public health facilities, like probably have like the first and the last Friday of the month to be specific adolescent health clinics where young people can go to health facilities and access tailored youth-friendly services. Number two, I know UNFPA was in process of working with the National Curriculum Development Center and Ministry of Education to develop a curriculum that would provide for teaching comprehensive sexual education in schools. UNFPA, how far is this process? And Ministry of Education.
Thank you.
Then
Thank
lastly,
you very much.
This is very important, Mr. Kamara. Lastly, yet if we are to address demographic dividend, definitely we must address the question of teenage pregnancies. But how do we address this when we still have cases of child marriages, increasing cases of rape, defilement? Like, for example, the case of the Pakistanis who raped this young girl. Where did it go? If we cannot address the cases of rape, defilement, child marriages, how will we solve the problem of teenage pregnancies? And you know very well that teenage pregnancies are contributing greatly to Uganda's maternal.
You've made your points.
Thanks.
Yes, if you come in front here, please. No.
Mr. Kamara, you had given me this mic for a long time. I'm not using it. I am here at the corners.
Okay, hold it, and then after this lady, you will use it.
Thank you so much. My name is Namatov Lydia Sandra, and my worry is about the young children getting so much sexually active, as one presenter said. And I know this I'm putting to the media. I think the media is enhancing this so much because there are no educative programs on TV, only obscenic music and what. So that all impacts children. Bring back the dialogues of Phile Bongole Ultaya, bring back those Ndiwulira things, take them to schools so people will come to know about the bad habits of.
Let's go back to where we dropped it,
Thank
when
you
we
so
were
much.
serious with our messaging. And then, so we tell it like it is. Yes, you've been holding a microphone?
Yes.
So now there you are.
Thank you very
Yes,
much
sir.
at last. This is a question.
Yes, sir.
To Mr. Commissioner Mondo. You ably said that the challenge is the local government. But to the best of my memory, local government was a product of the central government forming those structures for service delivery. Are you therefore insinuating that the central government erred because it was a product of that? Secondly, my brother in Kenya, tyranny of numbers. How many youths have received the computers in terms of access to education in Kenya as we speak now? Because that's a very, very huge challenge in terms of the DGM and the promises politically.
Thank
The
you.
last one is...
Thank you. No. Let us first hold there, and then these panelists could maybe respond to your questions and your comments, because there are going to be too many, and maybe they will forget. May I begin with Dr. Kisamba Mugerwa? Education, on issues of agriculture financing, and the conflicting messages. The president is talking about higher population, and you, the planners, are talking about family planning. So whom should we follow? I think it came from right here.
Briefly, I wish that whatever the president, as a fountain of knowledge, whatever he was saying was being followed. Because the president has said many good things, but we still see people behaving differently. One wonders why one thinks of numbers and being interpreted. The president is clear that for purposes of the market, we need the numbers. But he knows that the numbers cannot give us dividends unless they are equipped with health, education, and skills. That's why he's emphasizing since he came to power, to introduce universal primary education, health primary care, immunization. You have heard him saying that now, these days, the percentage is almost zero, those who are suffering from who have become disabled because of lack of immunization. So we are getting the numbers, and the presenters have already put it, that the dynamics already of the population in Uganda, the numbers are there. In fact, it is no longer an issue. And the take-home message we are getting from here, that we have the numbers is no longer an issue. What we need is to see how we use these numbers to get dividends. Let me give you an example. When universal primary education was introduced, our problem was enrollment. I think you all agree with me now that it is no longer being proud of that we have enrolled so many. Now the debate is on retention, completion of primary education, secondary, and so the same with the population, the number, if you are still on number, you are a cake. Now we are talking of demographic dividends, and that's the message, that we are shifting the debate from being proud of numbers, but to how we can use this as opportunities. And the opportunities don't come. They don't just come. We have to work with them in a strategic manner, by educating our people, by having them healthy, by ensuring that they have skills and create opportunities for them to participate in gainful employment. But see, as I told you in my opening remarks, when we are projecting the Vision 2040 and development plan, we are basing them on how many people do we have in the country. So if you have more and you cannot support them, then population dividend cannot come. That's why the debate comes in of reducing fertility rate and the number you can have in anyone's family. If you can afford them, well and good. If you cannot afford them, please don't. Many of the youth, even in here, if I were to take the stock, they have children left with their aunts and grandma parents in rural areas. They didn't produce you for them to look after your children. Look after, you have the children and look after them. So if you cannot, please don't engage. That's the message.
Give him a round of applause. Okay,
So,
Dr. Musinguzi.
Another one is what?
But Mr. Moderator, on that,
Yes.
I know I don't want to disagree with the chairman of the NPA. Of course, I'm actually supplementing what he's saying. And that goes to a question raised by someone about the confidence in small numbers. What do even those rural women, those poor rural women in Uganda, in the remotest parts of Uganda, there is also the responsibility of government to make sure that they put in place programs that help them so that they don't lose their children. Because if you are illiterate, you are very poor, you are out there, maybe you are even a second wife or something like that, also your power as a woman is very limited. And so you depend very much on also what government is able to put in place. And the reason why we are here is to say, yes, government has put some programs in place, but we want them to improve, or those which are not there, they must be there. You can imagine women and families continue to produce more children because they know half of them are going to die. And you cannot therefore blame them, because if I know 5 are going to die, so I produce 10, knowing that in actual fact I remain with 4 or 5. So couples take rational decision in those type of circumstances. And here I'm not really talking about the high table here or you guys who are here. I'm talking about the need to protect the poor rural woman, and that the responsibility at that point in time also remains with the government. The Ministry of Health must make sure they put programs in place to protect them. But those that are educated, then you are easier to deal with. But there is clearly a role for government along those lines.
Thank you very much.
I think that's a good message, that as mortality rate is being addressed, when you have children, your expectation that they will live is longer. Therefore, the issue of having more children does not count anymore. What we need is to have quality. And quality is along the whole value chain, from the time you conceive up to the end, until you have the skills and you participate in quality, gainful employment. The issue of agriculture, many of you take agriculture as digging, just go and cultivate. No, when we talk about agriculture, we are talking about all the value chain. So people are participating at a different level. If some youth are not participating in primary production, they are busy in processing. Others are busy in transporting. So if you are to collect people who are involved in agriculture, don't count only those people in Bamnanika, where I come from, who are digging. And we shall never attract youths in primary production unless we make agriculture productive. A youth would like to have a kiosk and he count how many tins of Kimbo he has sold, he would know the profit he has made. So what we are working on is to invest more in research, to increase productivity, to ensure that you manage your soil so that you have more production per unit area, and that you go for value crops. If you are going for maize, you can't make ends meet in 1 acre. Never. You go for high value crops and they are there. And the society is becoming more sophisticated for high value crops. They understand the value of vegetables. They understand the value of different things which are being grown, fruits. So please, let us go strategically in agriculture. And the government is assisting in these areas by putting their loans for facilitating people to go into the value chain in agriculture.
Thank you.
The last one is sexual education. I have, many of you are very adamant about it. Yes, let me tell you, I think I'm the oldest here. Until I went for my master's in Sussex, I didn't know that I could kiss a girl in public. But when I went in Brighton, the girls and boys were rolling on the greens in public. I came back exposed that you can kiss, but up to now, I've never had the opportunity to kiss my wife. Before my children, they don't know that I kiss her. but ask her, she will tell you. The point I'm trying to deliver to labor, please, we are handling this within our culture, within the exposure. It's unfortunate that family fabrics, families are breaking down because you are living in rent, music, I don't know, they call it in English, these things where you cannot really, tenements, yeah, where you cannot look after your children properly, and because you have one room house, you send away the children in the evening, the later they come back, the better for you. Yes, all these things must be looked into. So you don't know what they are doing, because when they come back, you won't have this sex with your wife. So these are things which we need to know. So we need to take sexual orientation or education systematically as we evolve. Finally, let me tell you, in senior 3, I was asked by a volunteer who was teaching us in Bishop School Mukono to write how to make tea. And for me in Vamnanika, we used to have water in a kettle, put there tea leaves, put there sugar if it is there. If you have milk, put there the milk, and that would be tea. And I wrote the essay. The woman got excited because she was expecting me to write about the milk mug, teapot. I had never seen them. They were not in. So exposure matters. In this matter, we shall gradually, as people get educated, as people get more civilized, as people get more education, they will talk about sex within the limitations of our culture and sovereignty.
Thank you. Give him a round of applause, Dr. Xamba Mogera. Commissioner Chateka, there are questions that came to you.
Yeah, I have only one question.
Yes.
And my colleague, there's a man called Robin Sharma, is one of the authors I read so fervently. He says, it does not help you to be the same person you were yesterday. That's why even in programs, there are what we call reviews. Local government system, LCs, have been here since 1986. A lot of what has passed through the bridge, maybe they were effective when they came. But I want to tell you, Dr. Xamba Mogera knows, that once upon a time, there were people who were called chiefs. When chiefs were chiefs, there was no nonsense. You either have food or you go to prison. You either have a toilet or you go to prison. You either, 21st century, we are still quarreling with people to have a toilet, to make sure that children go to school, to make sure there is no early marriages, to make sure there is the full immunization, teenage pregnancy at 24.5%, no food. There's a child in Kanungu who was carrying a stone to school every day because the school insisted that everybody must bring something to eat. The child was carrying a stone in a container every day, meaning that the family in this village, they didn't have food to pack for the child. Why shouldn't you have food? Why shouldn't you have a granary? People used to have all those. What I'm saying, that there is lapse somewhere in the local government structure and ensuring that they monitor and enforce things to be done. And all I'm asking for, we need to review the structure so that they can deliver. So that's what I was saying, sir.
Is lapse or laxity just in the local government or even higher up in the structures of our leadership of the country? Why would you... A fish begins to rot from the head.
You are right.
So
you are right. That means that even in monitoring, right from Ministry of Local Government, to ensure that these LCs are delivering, there's a problem somewhere. So what I'm saying, that can we ensure that we stop being happy with the laws, policies? At the end of the day, it's what the laws and policies that do that matters. That's where we want to go. And a review of certain systems, I think, is important.
Thank you. Our colleagues from Kenya, Dr. Zulu and Mr. Francis Kundo, you also had some questions directed to you. I begin with you, Dr. Zulu.
All right, thank you, Mr. Moderator. There was one question actually that referred to, I was asked to comment on the use of